The Galactic Council had been at war for 17 cycles. What began as a border dispute between the Vraxian Hive and the Keltheron Assembly had metastasized into a conflict that consumed half the known galaxy. Trillions had perished. Entire star systems lay barren, their planets reduced to cooling cinders drifting through the void. Mary Chen stood on the observation deck of the UNSS Prometheus, watching the debris field that had once been the Varaxian stronghold of Kethnine tumble past her view. Her reflection stared back at her from the reinforced glass dark eyes, regulation short hair, the golden insignia of a rear admiral gleaming at her collar. She was 42 years old and had never fired a weapon in anger, until today. Admiral Chen, the voice of Commander Corey Walsh, crackled through her neural interface. Final casualty reports are in. Mary closed her eyes. Go ahead, Commander. Varaxian losses approximately 400 billion combatants. Keltheran losses 320 billion. Collateral civilian casualties across both factions estimated at 600 million. The numbers scrolled across her vision, cold and clinical. 600 million souls snuffed out in the crossfire, and yet, compared to the daily death toll the war had been producing for the past 17 cycles, it was almost merciful. And our losses? She asked, though she already knew the answer. 14 personnel, hull breaches on the Darwin and Hawking, no fatalities. Mary opened her eyes. Through the viewport, she could see the rest of the human expeditionary fleet hanging in formation, 300 vessels, each one a marvel of engineering that made the galaxy's most advanced warships look like stone axes. The sleek destroyers, the massive carriers, the dreadnoughts bristling with weaponry that shouldn't have been possible according to every known law of physics, but humans had never been particularly good at following the rules. Commander Walsh, report to the observation deck, Mary said. We need to discuss what happens next. Corey arrived within minutes, his lean frame moving with the easy grace of someone who'd spent most of his life in variable gravity. At 36, he was young for his position, but then again, most of humanity's military leadership was young. They'd had to grow up fast when the Galactic Council's transmission had reached Earth. Admiral, he said, snapping a crisp salute. At ease, Corey. Mary gestured to the viewport. Look at it. 5 hours ago, this was the most heavily fortified military installation in the sector. Now it's scrap metal. Corey moved to stand beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. The Vraxians weren't prepared for our weapons. None of them were. No, Mary agreed. They've been fighting this war with plasma cannons and kinetic missiles. They don't have quantum-entangled targeting systems. They don't have zero-point energy reactors. They certainly don't have causalative violation torpedoes. The causalative violation torpedoes had been the key, weapons that existed in a state of quantum superposition until the moment of impact, allowing them to strike their targets before they were actually fired. It was a violation of every principle the galaxy held sacred, a perversion of the natural order. It was also devastatingly effective. The Council is requesting an immediate ceasefire, Corey said. Both the Vraxians and the Keltherans have unconditionally surrendered. They're asking, no, begging for us to broker a peace treaty. Mary turned away from the view. 17 cycles of war. Corey, do you know what that translates to in Earth time? 51 years, ma'am. 51 years. Before either of us was born, these civilizations were already killing each other, and they only stopped when something more terrifying than each other arrived on the scene. She laughed bitterly. We're the monsters now. Corey's jaw tightened. With respect, Admiral, we didn't start this war. We were invited to end it. He was right, of course. The Galactic Council had sent their transmission to Earth 3 years ago, a desperate plea for assistance from a species they had previously dismissed as primitive. The humans, still confined to their single star system, using fusion rockets and generation ships. The humans, who hadn't even achieved faster than light travel through conventional means. The Council had no idea what humanity had been working on in secret. The Alcubierre Fitzgerald drive was supposed to be used for exploration, Mary said quietly. We were going to reach Alpha Centauri in 6 months. We were going to spread across the stars peacefully. And then the Council showed us what the galaxy really looked like, Corey replied. 51 years of industrial-scale slaughter, entire species driven to extinction. The Council members too proud, too stubborn, or too stupid to find a peaceful solution. Mary pulled up a holographic display, showing the current disposition of forces. The human expeditionary fleet hung in the center, surrounded by the shattered remnants of both Vraxian and Keltheran. Beyond them, hundreds of Council observer ships maintained a respectful distance, their sensors drinking in every detail of humanity's impossible technology. They're afraid of us now, she said. Good, Corey said. Fear prevents war more effectively than diplomacy ever could, does it? Mary zoomed in on one of the observer ships, a graceful Peltheran vessel shaped like a nautilus shell. Or does it just plant the seeds for the next conflict? How long before they unite against the terrifying humans? How long before we become the threat they need to contain? Corey was silent for a long moment. What are you recommending, Admiral? Mary closed the holographic display and turned to face her second. I'm recommending we do exactly what the Council asked us to do. We broker a lasting peace between the Vraxians and the Kelth. We help them rebuild. We share some of our technology, not the weapons, but the peaceful applications, medical advances, agricultural techniques, clean energy, and in return, we make them understand that humanity isn't interested in conquest. We're interested in survival. She moved back to the viewport, watching a chunk of debris the size of a city block tumble past. We ended this war in 5 hours, Corey. 5 hours to accomplish what 17 cycles couldn't. That's not something to be proud of. That's something to be terrified of, because it means we're capable of ending the next war just as quickly, Corey said, understanding dawning in his eyes. Exactly. And the next war might be against us. Mary straightened her uniform. Open a channel to the Council. All member species. I want everyone to hear this. Corey moved to a control panel and worked quickly. Channel open. Admiral, you're broadcasting across the entire sector. Mary took a deep breath. This is Rear Admiral Mary Chen of the United Nations Space Service, commanding the Human Expeditionary Fleet. As of 1847 hours Galactic Standard Time, the war between the Vraxian Hive and the Keltheran Assembly is over. Both parties have agreed to an immediate ceasefire and unconditional surrender. She paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. Humanity came to this sector not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. We have demonstrated our capability to end conflicts through overwhelming force. But let me be clear, we do not wish to use this capability again. Ever. Another pause. We are proposing a new galactic order, one where disputes are resolved through negotiation, not annihilation. Where technology serves life, not death. Where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Humanity will enforce this peace for as long as necessary. We will share our knowledge with those who seek to build, not destroy. And we will respond with absolute force against anyone who threatens the stability we have purchased at such terrible cost today. Mary glanced at Corey, who gave her an encouraging nod. The war is over, she concluded. Let us ensure it stays that way. Chen out. The channel closed. In the silence that followed, Mary and Corey stood together watching the debris field slowly disperse. Do you think they'll listen? Corey asked. Mary smiled grimly. They ended a 51-year war in 5 hours because we showed them our weapons. They'll maintain the peace because they never want to see those weapons used again. Fear as a deterrent. Fear as a foundation, Mary corrected. We'll build something better on top of it. Eventually, in the distance, the observer ships began to move, returning to their home worlds with news that would reshape the galaxy. The age of endless war was over. The age of humanity had begun.